Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. This is Brad Varnell on the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel. And today I am so excited. We have a very special guest with us today. This gentleman is an expert in what he does. He's an expert in crypto, he's an expert in finances. He's been a serial entrepreneur and just, a lot of, I think the reason that him and I get along so well is I think we have a lot in common. We were searching for financial freedom. We knew that we wanted, both time and money. And one of the things that attracted me to this gentleman is that he created both. And now he is living the life of his dreams in Costa Rica, beautiful Costa Rica. He's got this beautiful property with a waterfall on it that he's building his dream house on. And folks, I'm just excited to have him on the channel. And he's got his own YouTube channel. And I want you guys to check that out too. But with no further ado, Jerry V. Hall, welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Brad. How are you in Vegas today?
Man, it's been an amazing day today in Vegas. The sun is shining, birds are singing, life is good.
Right on, right on. So, one of the things I think that should be always celebrated is that regardless of any gyrations in the market, that we can all turn to each other for a little something, a little juice, right? Sometimes it's not about the value of your portfolio, it's about the value of the education that we're arriving from and extracting from the journey that we're on, right? And so one of the things that attracted me to your channel is, one, you were focused in an area that I was trying to get some information on, and that was the metaverse. But I stayed tuned into a lot of your stuff because you really have a passion, because you want to help people. And at the end of the day, as much as I love currency in all its forms, one of the currencies that isn't talked about a lot is social currency, right? Social equity, the value that can be distributed and traded amongst people like you and I and every viewer that tunes into our channels.
Amen.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank you for being on that journey and helping other people see that there is a way to beat the stereotypes. We don't have to stay in boxes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Oh, you're welcome.
We were talking a little bit before we went live, and I was kind of curious to get your thoughts on the current market conditions. We had the Fed raise the rates last week as expected. It didn't, tank the market. Some people were a little nervous about that. Some people had thought that it was kind of priced in. It feels like it was priced in. We never really saw any type of a dump. Now the market seems to be, kind of heading up and maybe thinking about being bullish. What do you think? What do you think? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but where do you think we're headed?
Well, I think I have a thesis, and I bet my entire life on it, and that is, we can count on monetary policy being exactly what it has been. Okay? Governments have two choices to pay for itself, right? Taxation, creation of new monetary currency units. So expansion of the money supply or taxation. Well, I can tell you that coming from the United States, knowing that it is the most well-armed private citizenry on planet Earth, it's not the country that you want to tax into the ground, because they will revolt. They will create militias and they will say no. Matter of fact, our country was founded on exactly that principle. No, you cannot tax us into the ground. So therefore, we can count on the government to understand that and know that. Therefore, they are going to continue to issue more debt. More bonds, more debt, more bonds, more debt. Well, that is the perfect storm for crypto. That is the perfect storm for anybody who understands how to preserve value, because inflation will erode value. And so I built my whole philosophy on that principle, that they will not change. Governments around the world will not change. Sure, We'll raise it 25 basis points. Who cares? None of that means nothing. They can't make any major changes to monetary policy, Brad, because if they did, the whole house of cards would collapse. There is so much debt burden in the world. You can't raise the rate of borrowing because the whole world is on a loop of borrow to service your old debt. And if you can't borrow more to service your old debt, you become insolvent, you're gone, you're bankrupt. Well, they're not going to let governments around the world go bankrupt. They're not the big ones, not the top 5. Sure, they'll let Zimbabwe go. Yes, they'll let Venezuela go. Yes, bye-bye Argentina, bye-bye Turkey. Nice, thanks for your participation. But especially the United States is not. This is all posturing. In other words, you ask me about the current market is no different than the old market. It's no different than the next market or 18 markets behind us. We're in the perfect position for crypto to continue to gain ground because it is truly a safe haven from monetary policy. And that's truly what we need to escape to preserve our wealth is monetary policy, because every other asset can be impaired by government. Property can be taxed. Your assets can be seized. Right? How many of us understood the lesson from Cyprus? I don't know if you were in crypto, but I was, and I remember hearing about the country Cyprus closing all their banks one afternoon, and the very next day, every single citizen who had a bank account had 20% less in their bank account. The government just took 20% of their stuff, of their monetary value. Overnight. Michael Saylor talks about his $1 million in Argentina. The bank closed. On a fax from the government, every account was converted to pesos, and then they devalued the peso. He lost 90% of his value overnight on a government decision. Where else in the world can you hide? Where else is your value or your property safe? Nowhere but crypto. Crypto, once people understand this, and that's really the thing. So for the retailers, I think we're going to see, as more people get educated, that'll happen. And you'll see major growth when corporations start being able to do things that they cannot do now. Like, I don't know how familiar you are with FASB and the GAAP accounting rules for corporations. Are you hip to any of these things?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Quick point. If you were a publicly traded company, you need to disclose every quarter your profit and loss, your assets that you hold, every disclosable legal requirement.
Yep.
Well, currently, Bitcoin is categorized as a piece of property, but it has to be marked down to its lowest value at any point in which you owned it. So if you bought Bitcoin at 44,000 like today, and let's say there was a flash crash tomorrow, it went down to 25,000 and then bounced back up to 60 grand, you would have to mark it down to $25,000. Even if it only touched $25,000 for a second. And that you would have to state that is the value of your Bitcoin when you disclose your public K2s for your quarterly reporting.
Okay.
That's a definite intangible accounting practice through GAAP accounting. Well, if one rule gets changed by FASB, the entity that governs accounting practices for publicly traded companies, which there have been 500 submissions to change that rule. Once they change that rule and something like Bitcoin can be a fair value market asset on your balance sheet, watch the flood to Bitcoin. Well, now we talk about supply and demand.
Yep.
Right? Fixed supply assets have to go up in value if demand increases.
Right.
It has to. It's like a law of physics, although it's just a law of math. But you understand what I'm saying? It's not like you can issue more Bitcoin to supply to quelch or satisfy the new demand.
Absolutely, man. I really love what you just said, and I'll get to your short-term perspective, but just let me make sure that I understand, what you just told us. If I heard you correctly, the long-term outlook for crypto is better than it's ever been for all of the
Correct.
reasons that you just announced. And folks, I think the thing that really hit me about what Jerry just said is so many of us here, we're here to build wealth. But if I really understood what Jerry just said, if you're new to crypto, if you haven't invested in crypto yet, it sounds to me like Jerry is telling you, heck with trying to get rich. If you don't get into crypto and get some assets that are gonna not that are that are protected from this inflation and everything that's going on, you're gonna get wiped out if you're not careful. It really sounds like you have you didn't really come out and just say it like warning, 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 but that's kind of what came to me, because so often in this space, we're looking at financial freedom and getting wealthy and living our dreams. And sometimes I think we forget how important it is just to get started on this journey and get deep enough to where you actually got some protection against what the world is trying to do. Would you agree with that?
That's true. And Brad, in all fairness, nothing that I'm saying is created by me, right? There is not one single word, not one single principle that I shared with you, or I share with my Patreon group, or I share with my friends in the neighborhood that isn't just something that I learned, right? The principle of trading time for money has been for peasants since time immemorial, right? Yet, when you and I were growing up, you're a few years younger than I, but not that many, we were instructed to get a good education, get a job, start a family, buy a house, and try to save enough for retirement.
Yep.
Okay. Well, guess what? That is a losing structure. Truth be told, we should be teaching our children right now, get an education and start acquiring assets now. I know that you want a car when you're 16 and you got your driver's license, but what is a car? A car is a convenience and it's a depreciating asset. Why don't you buy some Bitcoin and learn about yield? You'll put your $10 into something and have it generate you 25 cents. Feel free to spend the 25 cents. If you really want to get ahead, take the 25 cents and compound it into your $10 allowance. Start having your money make money. That is the biggest shift. If you want to get ahead, you've got to get out of the trading your time for money game. You have to get out of the game of using credit to acquire convenience and desirables, and only use credit to acquire assets that will appreciate greater than the cost of the capital or the cost of the loan. So if I borrow $10,000 and it's going to be a $12,000 repayment, right? I pay back $12,000 for the $10,000 that I borrowed, $10,000 for the principal and $2,000 for the interest. I need to make $14,000, $15,000 on that to justify taking a loan. Well, the only thing you and I have ever been exposed to that comes anywhere close to that is the buy a house. Buy a house, get a loan, get a fixed rate. That has helped us with inflation, right? Because we borrowed money at a value at a set point, and then each day in the future, the same currency unit is less value. So those of us that bought houses early escaped some of the pressure, but then we get the other side of the coin, right? The other side of the coin is the jurisdictions that our homes are in are subject to property taxes that get increased when governments need capital for their spending. And as a homeowner, it's kind of hard to do anything about it. Right? When you get taxed as a homeowner, what are you going to do? Rebel? Well, guess what? They lien you. They start taking your bank accounts and stuff.
Right?
Try to fight the IRS. I dare you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's all kinds of things that can be impaired. And what we're realizing is with these digital assets, once impairment comes into a jurisdiction, we have the freedom to move jurisdictions. I did. I left the United States. I'm not saying you should leave the United States, but I'm saying, guess what? You don't have to put up with things you don't want to. You can go where you are best treated. Because these digital assets are global value, not jurisdictional.
Right. And, speaking of that, why don't we go backwards a little bit? We were talking earlier, you say your cryptocurrency journey started about 4 years ago. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about how that came about, and then a little bit about how you decided to move from, California to Costa Rica and live your life there the way that you have these last couple of years.
Sure. Okay, quick story. So in 2015, I'm a contractor in Northern California. My son had moved out of the house. I've got this 4-bedroom place. I am not happy having to generate $6,000 a month just to cover the cost of life. That's insurances on the truck and the motorcycle, and the payments for the dwelling, the utilities, the $180, $200 cable bill. I mean, and then the food, and then the stuff, and you want to go to restaurants. And my life cost about $6,000 a month. And I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I found a thing called Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. And I found a farmer in Hawaii that said, come, you can stay here, room and board. All you got to do is give me 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. I sold everything, put $50,000 in the bank, went to Hawaii and said, you know what? I will figure it out. I will figure life out. And I did that for 1.5 years, and it was the funnest time of my life, Brad. And then my mother got ill. I bought a house for my mom when I was 19 in New Mexico. She lived there. She was going to die there. And guess what? She did. I went to New Mexico, spent the last 4 months of her life with her. I was on the title of the house. I had what they call a deed in lieu of death. So I had a position in the property that if she died, the deed would transfer to me. Going through all the paperwork after she passed and, trying to piece together everything, I come to find out she had taken a reverse mortgage on the house, and my little nest egg that I thought I would have after she passed was no longer an option. There was no nest egg. There was more owed on the reverse mortgage than the home was owed. Than the home was worth. So I'm like, okay. So I've got $23,000. That's to my name. I call a buddy of mine who did very well. I said, hey, you need to teach. I need to learn how to invest this money. I can't go back to contracting, not having any equipment and only having $23,000. That will not get the job done. I said, okay. And I did. I got in, I started learning. I was in the stock market, cannabis stocks, this, that, and the other thing. Make a long story short, I got up to about $50,000. And I was going to take some money off the table. I was going to get my LASIK eye surgery done, and I was looking for places to do it. And I found Costa Rica, and I came down here. I found not only did I get a great eye surgery for like pennies on the dollar compared to the United States, I found the bartender in my hotel was telling me about crypto and stuff. And because I was in the stock market, I was interested in investments. This was in January of 2018. Well, that started me on a journey. And between January 2018 and August of 2018, I was completely out of the stock market, completely 100% into crypto. And I knew that no matter how long it took for crypto to do something, that's where I needed to be. And so I found a farm in Costa Rica that I could trade my labor for a place to stay. So that brought me back to Costa Rica. Okay. One thing I didn't tell you is I started getting an annuity that came from my mother's passing, a $350 a month annuity. And so that's what I had to base my life on. That had to be what my life cost until crypto did something. And I kept thinking, any day now, crypto's going to take off this 2018. The rest of the world's doing great. Crypto's doing nothing. Matter of fact, my $50,000 crypto portfolio turned into 20 grand and stayed that way for 2 years. All of 2018 and 2019. And it was horrible. Living on beans and rice and top ramen, walking everywhere, didn't buy new shoes, didn't do anything, just barely survived. Started my little YouTube channel, but I was studying the whole time. And as new information would come, I would do things. Once we started to get a yield curve in crypto, like with Nexo and Celsius and companies like that would allow you to park assets and you could get a yield on it.
Yep.
I started doing that immediately. Changed my entire portfolio construction. I didn't buy any crypto that did not give me an opportunity to earn a yield on it. So if I couldn't put it at Nexo or Celsius or put it in its own private wallet and earn a staking reward, then I didn't own it. It was just that simple. Well, make a long story short, 2020 came along, COVID came along, changed everything. Midway through 2020, all of a sudden the little broke boy in one of the little lower class neighborhoods in Costa Rica living on $350 a month, my portfolio blew up because the whole time I was earning more crypto. So like people who had jobs and would add dollar cost average, I was dollar cost averaging through yield mechanisms. So I increased my Bitcoin position. I increased every position I had over 2 years through the yield mechanisms. And that's basically what I still do. I invest in things that pay good yields, and the things that pay extremely good yields, I will scrape off and buy things like Bitcoin that I think are going to be the absolute bee's knees for time immemorial.
That's awesome, man. I love that so much.
Simple strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I love about your story is that, what you did, the sacrifice. You and I both hear a lot of people that would like to have, what we have. But when you tell them, hey, move to Costa Rica, live off of $350 a month for the next 2 or 3 years, you got it.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the thing, Brad, and this is, and I've accepted this, and I hope that you will, and everybody that's listening should accept this. Everybody will get the assets at the price they deserve, right? So some of our viewers, some of your viewers, some of my viewers, they will not get Bitcoin until it's $100,000, and that's just the way it is.
Yep.
Oh well. People that want to get it at 44, that happen. The thing is, we don't know when it will bounce and explode, but I can tell you, I know it will grow. I know it will. There's too many indicators. I was a young man, watched the internet boom. I was a young man. I watched mobile communication boom. I am also now a student of financial history, economic history, and it's very similar when you start looking at innovative waves and start looking at innovative cycles. Well, it's pretty easy to see this crypto, this transition to digital value is mirroring all the previous technologies where it was digital communication, where we could actually, where we went from having cords on the phone in a home to having the ability to connect to towers and digitally communicate. Right? The internet brought us digital information and the actual breaking down of physical things like maps and photos and music and all these things that used to be physical and tangible, right? It completely dematerialized those things, turned them digital. Well, now we're in the wave of digital money, digital value, Value is pretty important to every human being on the planet. I think there's a future here, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so now it's just a matter of adoption rate. Now it's just a matter of when. And where we will all differ is in our our proclaiming of when. I don't know when. I don't know when Bitcoin will be $1 million a coin, but I bet eventually it will.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know if Cardano will be the ETH killer in 15 years. I don't. So I own a little bit of a bunch of layer 1 protocols. I don't know which smart contract blockchain is going to produce the next application that 1 billion people use. So why not have some of all of the good ones of the top 20? I don't know if metaverse will be the new place where all business and commerce and socialization happens, but why not own a few of the projects that look like they're garnering a lot of attention? 20 different projects. Get a little piece, and if you can get them and have a yield mechanism where it auto compounds more, make $100 investment today, and if 10 years from now it turns into $100,000, okay, how cool is that?
Absolutely.
So that that's my thing in a nutshell. I don't get caught up in the gyrations of the day-to-day, although I do keep my eye on it. And I'm always trying to learn more, right? I'm trying to understand the mechanisms that power DeFi. I'm trying to understand the markets and the mentalities that are involved in the NFT space. I'm trying to stay with and understand things like earn, play to earn in the gaming world. But I'm also looking at things outside of it and seeing who is going to stand to benefit from integrating some of this stuff. Will Apple integrate a actual hard wallet into their hard device? That could be a game changer. We know Samsung's trying. They're one of the largest Android phone manufacturers on the planet.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, let's all have fun with it. Let's all try to expand our knowledge base. And if we want to truly help people, let's educate ourselves around money, in the history of money,
right?
And then share and teach our children about it so that it's not a huge mystery to them. You and I grew up in one of the most incredible eras. Like, I'm assuming you were born in the 70s.
That's correct. 73.
We were given, we were, the baby boomers created this monster economy for us, right? But none of us got taught really about money, and we didn't get taught really about nutrition. So you and I got great educations, but the two most important things to us, our bodies and our economic mobility, were the two most important things were never part of our educational curriculum, ever. And that's by design.
Yes.
Keep us sick, we stay obedient. Keep us poor, we stay obedient.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And my eyes have just really been recently opened to how much of it was on purpose. I mean, I like you, I was raised, my father owned his own business my whole life. And so he did a good job of teaching me to not be excited about the 40-40-40 plan. He never wanted me to go out and work for somebody else. So I was kind of lucky in that sense. And I was raised in an entrepreneurial, atmosphere. I was told all the time that a lot of people have time, a lot of people have money, but very few people have both. And I was, so I was always kind of searching for financial freedom. But like you said, I mean, the way that it's drilled into our heads to go to school, get a good education and get a good job, and and all that stuff. I thought part of it was because technically, I mean, the way that the United States and the world is now, you need a lot of workers to keep everything going. I mean, who's got, you need somebody at the grocery store stocking the shelf. You got to have a checker. You need employees, but more so than that, I'm really starting to have my eyes open to what you're talking about. And the more, like, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot going on in the background that I think people are just starting to wake up to. And I think that's one of the great things about our channels is we can kind of help people open their eyes and like I say, not necessarily just do this stuff to create financial freedom in their lives, but to realize that if more people don't wake up, we're not going to have a country or a world to live in, to be able to go out and enjoy if we don't change some things.
Well, here's the thing. We all, unless somehow we're going to hide in a national forest, right, and live off of grubs and roots, we're going to interact in communities, right? I'm just choosing to interact in communities where people want to expand their understanding and their abilities. Like, for instance, food sovereignty. I can grow my own food, and you'll see as the property gets developed, there's a lot of those considerations are put in the design, right? The name of the entire project is Beyond Moon Farms. It's farms for a reason. The corporation I've started in Costa Rica, Beyond Moon Farms, isn't just a tax thing, although I am going to enjoy the tax benefits of having my own business in Costa Rica. It's about being able to grow my own food and put good nutrition in my body. Because when I give that responsibility over to a corporation, they're not going to have my best interest. They're going to have their best interest. Their best interest is profit. My best interest is nutrition. And those two things conflict. So I can count on them to try to get their profit, and I can count on them not to put my nutritional needs ahead of their profit. So therefore, I better learn how to grow my own food.
Yes, absolutely.
Same goes for money. Wall Street never had our best interest. It had their best interest. Wall Street wants to lure me in saying, we'll 8%, 9%, 10% on these funds. Well, you read the fine print and you go, wait a second. I could invest in every one of these things on my own and not pay you 3% per year. Wait a second. Why am I doing that? Oh, because I didn't learn about money. So you did, so you must know more than me. Right? That is kind of the deal. I'm done. The wool has been taken off, right? The wool is no longer pulled over my eyes. I can see. And that's the job you and I have everywhere we go. Like, I'm in Costa Rica constant every day. Every person I talk to, I'm talking to them and trying to get them to understand about inflation. I'm in a country that's a cash and carry country. And I'm in a country that is suffering much worse inflation than you are in the United States. But because my entire life is based in the dollar, I earn US dollars. My economic situation is far better than a normal Costa Rican who's earning colones, because I earn dollars. So as their colones devalue, I can buy more with my same dollars. Right?
Right.
Just like you could buy more with your dollars 5 years ago than you can buy now with your dollars, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got that same situation. I'm like you 5 years ago, getting to spend, you know what I mean? So I'm in a very advantageous economic situation. But that doesn't mean that the cost of things aren't going up dramatically. They are.
Right.
I'm in a country that does not produce any of its own fuel. It imports all of it. But on the other hand, they're also 99% green. In other words, solar, hydro, and wind produce 98% of the power on the power grid. That's wonderful. So what does that tell you? We should have electric cars. So, I mean, it's
So let
Just
me
think through.
let me ask you this: for all of the people that are watching and the people that will watch, where would you point them? I know that we're both huge on education. You know, we were talking about that before, and that's what you said. I mean, that cryptocurrency hasn't set you free. Your education and the things that you learned and taught yourself has set you free. And that's a huge reason that my channel exists, because I'm a huge believer. I can help you make a bunch of money in crypto, but if you don't understand why you made it and how you made it and what to do with it, it'll be gone and you'll be right back where you were and nothing will have ever changed. And the mindset part is so important, and it sounds like that's, you agree with that and you've done that. So if I've got a viewer that's sitting here watching this going, man, I like what they're saying, but where do I start? How do I get this education process rolling? Do you have a book or two or a YouTube
There's
video
a ton.
or two? Or
So
what do you recommend somebody does?
well, the very first thing, if you feel like you don't know, right? If you can be like emotionally and intellectually honest and say, I really don't know. Mike Maloney, The Hidden Secrets of Money. He did a 10-part YouTube series, right? Now, Mike Maloney is coming from the perspective of a gold and silver guy, but the principles of hard money are important to understand.
Yeah.
Great 10-part series. I don't think any episode of the 10 is longer than 45 or 50 minutes. So you could, as a person who is out there slaving away, come home after work, watch an episode a night for 10 nights, and get a great start. And then I'll tell you, I found things like Real Vision Finance on YouTube. Oh my goodness, what a game changer that has been. And then it's just a matter of learning how to learn, right? It's about learning how to learn. So I would watch something. I'd have a pad and a pencil. Some word would come and I'd go, what is that word? What is rehypothecation? What is that?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is. I can't even make up a meaning for a word like that. Rehypothecation. I'm going to dive into that. Pause the video. Google, rehypothecation. Oh, that's nefarious. Oh, it's legal. It's what they do. Oh my God. Okay, go back to the video. What's the context? It's being, it's that whole, if you don't know how to learn, I can't help you. But if you have an understanding of something that can lead you somewhere, and then you lead you to somewhere else, and you deepen your understanding, and then that leads you to something that deepens your understanding, that leads you to something that deepens your understanding, that's how we learn. And it doesn't happen overnight. Nobody is going to get economically educated with less than 1,000 hours of study. I'm sorry, there is no pill you can take and all of a sudden understand monetary policy, the history of economics, understand the engineering benefits of crypto coming into it fresh. I'm sorry, there is no get it fast way. It takes 1,000 hours to do 1,000 hours of study. I asked my son, how long does it take to get 1,000 hours of study in? Just take a guess. How long do you think it would actually take? And he kind of thought about it for a second. He goes, I don't know. I said 1,000 hours. It takes 1,000 hours to get 1,000 hours of study. So it's like, are we there yet? No, we're not there. We're 3 hours in. We got 997 hours more to go.
Awesome, man. I love it. One of the things that you said, out of everything that you said, which was some amazing stuff, and thank you for that, by the way, that was awesome. And it's exactly the reason why I wanted to have you on the show. So thank you for what you just said and sharing that with us so heartfeltly. But something that you said that probably most people missed was you mentioned a pad and a paper. And folks, for those of you that are watching this, I've heard many, many times from successful people, that success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. And one of the businesses that I was in, there was a gentleman that would introduce the speaker, and he would always say, folks, I will trust a short pencil over a long memory any day of the week. And I would be willing to bet that 90, 95, 99% of our viewers and just viewers of YouTube in general do not have a pad and paper in front of them when they're watching a YouTube video. So folks, that might seem like such a little thing, but if you're serious about being successful, serious about learning this stuff, you are going to remember, and you are going to learn, and you are going to absorb so much more information. And that was like they call it the 1%ers, the little golden nuggets of information. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because such a seemingly insignificant thing might be one of the most important things that you've said in the whole 40 minutes that we've been together.
Right on. So let me ask you this, Brad. Does the audience have any questions been submitted or posed in your chat? I can't see the chat. So
okay. No, I've had a couple of people say hi, but I haven't had any people ask any questions yet. Folks, I know that there are a few of you watching us live. And so, take advantage of this situation. If you have anything that you would like to personally ask Jerry about, now's a good opportunity for you to throw your questions in here. And while we're doing that, I want to share Jerry's YouTube channel with you here real fast. So let me pull up your channel, Jerry, and give them a chance to get on there and check it out. So I put the description, or in the description of this video, I put your channel, but I still would like to bring it up here real quick, share my screen here, and get to, here we go. So those of you that are watching, this is Jerry's channel here. He's got some amazing things. He did a live stream with this real good looking guy about a month or so ago. And but anyways, he's got all sorts of incredible information here. He's got some fantastic interviews. If you go back, you can see that he's just got, information after, information like this one here. How safe are your assets and money? If you're building these crypto portfolios and you're doing these things, wouldn't it make sense to know how to protect them? The relentless learner, Tom Ballou. Tom Ballou is one of my favoriteest guys on the whole earth. This guy is probably worth, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars, super successful. And here's an interview, that Jerry did with him. So folks, I would take advantage of Jerry's YouTube channel. He also has an incredible Discord group, and there's a lot of.
I don't, Brad. I don't have a Discord group. I have a Patreon group.
Oh, a Patreon group. I apologize. I got that wrong. Patreon group.
It's actually just an investment club. It's a Patreon group, but we call it the Beyond Moon Investment Club.
I love it. So I was talking with Jerry before the show started, and I'm sold. I'm going to be your next person that signs up for that sucker, because I'm looking forward to spending some time. Because
I'd love to have you.
I would love, the moment you start, quit learning, the moment you think you got it all figured out is when you're going to go backwards. And so I know that I've got a ton to learn in your expertise of the earning yield and being able to turn my assets into passive income and compound them. All of that stuff is so important. Hey, Haydar Malik, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Do you have a question for Jerry by any chance, Haydar? I'd love to get some questions. If anybody in the chat has any questions for Jerry, let me know. In the meantime, I've got a quick question for you. What are like, you like Nexo and Celsius? Are those still a couple of your go-to DeFi platforms, or you?
Well, okay. So a year and a half ago, the answer would be emphatically yes. And the reason a year and a half ago I would say yes is because the selection or choices in that realm were very thin. Okay, very thin. We are in a place where the yield curve in crypto is really starting to mature. When I say yield curve, I'm talking about a scale from borrowing and lending and getting interest for the services provided, right? That whole mechanism is really starting to mature. I love being able to earn 5% on my Bitcoin. I really do. But really, that's all I'm using it for. The truth of the matter is all the other assets, like all the proof of stake assets, the yields are far better in their own wallet than on any platform. And that provides one less risk factor, because platform risk is something every investor should be at least cognizant of, that when they're interacting with a Coinbase or a Nexo or Associate, it doesn't matter what platform. If it is a company, that company has to follow the laws of the land for which it is based.
Yep.
And the more I learn about money, the more I learn about things like impairment, right? What can impair my money? Laws can impair my money. Like you and I were talking off camera about property. Property forever was a great investment for the common person, but we never really thought about, well, governments in the jurisdictions that the property is can impair the property with higher taxation, with liens, and even worst case scenario, there are laws that allow the county, the state, the federal government to seize your property if they need it, if they think they need it. I don't know if I like not having control.
Right.
Well, before crypto, the truth of the matter is none of us ever have a choice. So it was something you just accepted. But now those of us that are in crypto and learning about crypto and understanding property rights, crypto can be owned right there, and I can go to wherever I'm treated best. I don't have, it's borderless. And that freedom is a freedom that not a lot of us talk about, but has a tremendous value.
Absolutely. I agree.
And so as I think about value, as I think about assets, as I think about how I am going to continue to flourish, as opposed to, oh my God, it just seems like the future is just filled with turmoil, right? The cost of everything is going up. My wages aren't going up, right? My waistline's going up. That's not good. We got to change that. But you know what I mean. The point is, in this day of, it's very difficult to get ahead, because it seems like we spend so much of our time just treading water, right? Working, balancing the family, doing this. And a lot of it is because of the decisions we made, and we did not even know we made them. We did not know that we were on a treacherous path, right? But I was raised, like I said, hey, get credit. You want new clothes? Put it on the Visa card. You know what? If you can't make the full payment, don't worry about it. No, we'll do it. We'll give the option to just make a minimum payment.
Yep.
And we're not going to harass you or anything. Our whole culture, the one you and I grew up in the United States, is built around credit.
Yes.
And that is kind of nefarious in that the governments, Reagan and Thatcher and a lot of the people back in the 60s and 70s, saw that that was the way to expand an economy when real value was not accelerating at the rate they wanted to. We could accelerate value in the form of valuation by expanding credit. And the banks were more than happy to do it because there were laws around fractional reserve banking that allowed them to do it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it doesn't help you and me. It helps those who have, but it does not help the have-nots.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, it's one of the reasons that I love your channel is that you really are teaching people how to fish. You know, not giving them a fish. And I mean, that's so important. You know, before this crypto journey and the success that I've had, and I'm sure you've heard this too. You always hear these successful people that say, you know, it's not what I have, it's the person that I became. And you also hear them say, you can take it all away from me and I could start over tomorrow with zero and I'd have it all back again in a few years. And I remember thinking, horse manure, that's not true. But now that I'm here, I realize it is true.
It can be true,
I
because
mean,
it's just understanding processes. It's
yes,
understanding, like, I for years thought things that were good, proper uses of money, right, did nothing but feed a machine, did not feed my wealth. I spent my entire life putting money towards depreciating assets, cars, motorcycles, campers, vacations, trips, clothes, restaurants.
right. But learning, you know, learning what you've learned, I'm pretty sure that if something happened and somehow all of your crypto disappeared tomorrow, you know everything that you need to know. You'd have it all back again within a couple of years and probably be worth more in a couple
I
of
don't
years
know
than
about
you
the
are today.
years. I don't know about the time, but I would know how to build. Yes, of
Yeah,
course, because
yeah,
the mechanisms for wealth building are relatively
right.
easy. Get
Absolutely.
good, get super strong assets. Have those assets derive a yield, right? Get a yield curve and compound the value back into the principal. That it's the most simple formula in the world. How many of us do it?
Amen. And you know, the reason I brought that up is because some of the most popular crypto channels on the planet, they just kind of spoon feed. They kind of spoon feed their viewers the tokens that they ought to buy. And I've even been guilty of it where, you know, there's a 15-minute video and in the beginning the guy says, hey, this is my favorite token to make you a millionaire over the next couple of years. And I flicked through the YouTube video. I just want to know what the token is. I don't want to listen to the 14 and a half minutes of him tell me why it's the token. I just tell me what token it is. So I've even been guilty of it myself. But I think what, you know, the point that we're trying to make, folks, is that's not good. That's not the right attitude. That's not going to give you the long-term success, the long-term wealth. That's going to take the 1,000 hours, you know, like Jerry talked about. It's going to take the 1,000 hours. So, you know, in my opinion, don't get upset that it's going to take 1,000 hours. Don't fight against it. Don't
No, roll up your
just
sleeve
roll up your sleeves and
and
realize,
go do
okay,
it.
at least I know what I got to do now, 1,000 hours, and start going and getting it done. So that's what I love about your philosophy and the way that you think. And like I say, and that's why I'm very interested in learning about your Patreon, because my mentor back in 2017, my mentor turned 9,500 into 2.2 million in the bull run in 17-18. And all of 2017, he was begging me to get into crypto, and I didn't. And then he finally got my attention, and I jumped in. But I hated it. I got pissed off at him several times. But most of the time, when I came to him with a question, he would say, if you go to YouTube and you Google blah, 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 there'll be 10 videos will pop up with that answer. I got so tired of that. But he got me trained. He would always tell me, hey, Brad, I want you to be able to do this whether I'm around or not. As I become wealthier, as I become busier, I'm not always going to just be a phone call away to answer your question. So it made me mad, but he always made me learn for myself. And thank God he did, because he passed away unexpectedly at the end of 2019, going into 2020, before the huge bull run, you know. But if he hadn't taught me how to do it for myself, and I was just dependent upon him for all of the answers, where would I be today? So, you know, folks, you don't want us to give you all the answers. I promise you. You might sound good to you, but you want to listen to folks like Jerry and I that point you in the right direction, that are there to support you and believe in you and inspire you. And yeah, we're certainly going to help you. But man, it's just so refreshing to talk to somebody that gets it, that understands how important it is for people to do the work.
And well, that's why I started the Patreon group. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, there was a community forming around me. And the Patreon group is called Beyond Moon Investment Club. It's an investment club. We have a chat thing. We all share stuff. We have a couple of meetings a month. I do one-on-ones with everybody, so that, because not everybody wants to share every element of their finances with a group. Fair enough. I totally get that. And one-on-one, we'll do investment strategies and actual execution. But as a group, it's really macro. It's really macro. You know what I mean? And in our little WhatsApp group, we're sending each other, hey, check this out. Check that out. Because there is a lot of poo-poo caca out there, right? I have sifted through hundreds of hours of garbage. That'll be hundreds of hours I'll never get back again. But there's an element of the journey that there's value even in sifting through garbage. I get better at I spend less time in garbage, and I can easily, within the first, minute and a half of a video, know, am I going to get something valuable from this? If not, I can go to the next thing. Because like you said, there are 20 things answering a question. I don't have to watch every one. I just need to find the answer. So I can, And we're all going to connect with different people, right? We're all going to resonate with different voices. And that's the beauty of YouTube, right? There are countless channels, some as small as 15, 25 subscribers, some as large as millions, and everything in between, for us to come and find in a free milieu, this free environment, this free flow of information. I happen to connect strongly with Michael Saylor for MicroStrategies. I follow everything that guy does. I watch. Some things I've consumed 25, 30 times. Some things are in my top 3 of recommendation. Like I recommended Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money. Here's the second recommendation. You go watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Michael Saylor. Every single point of why is flushed out in that hour and 20-minute interview with Tucker Carlson. And I don't like Tucker Carlson's politics, but I was loving that interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. That's fantastic.
Raoul Pal, Real Vision. I've watched everything he's ever done about macroeconomics, the retirement crisis, the pension crises, all these things, because they help me understand the economy. They help me understand the monetary environment of the world and some of the largest players in the world, the United States being one of them.
Nice. Sounds like you spend more time on that kind of stuff than you do even on just cryptocurrency YouTuber videos.
Oh, absolutely, because crypto's not operating in a vacuum. Matter of fact, what is crypto? It's the digitalization of value. And what is value? The economy. All the economy is a big system in which value is being exchanged.
Yeah.
Well, all crypto is digital value, for the most part.
Right. Hedge
So
Pro,
if you don't understand the greater economy, how are you really going to understand crypto? Really?
Yeah. So one of my guys, Hedge Pro, is saying, he really agrees with you. Bitcoin is the best property on the planet. And then when we were talking about the, not giving somebody a fish, but teaching them how to fish. And then the last thing that he said here was, those are great people to follow. So he really likes what you had to say there. So, well Jerry, we've been on here for about an hour. I think we'll go ahead and kind of wrap it up, man. I appreciate your time so much. It was an honor having you. I am certain that we will stay in touch and probably do some more stuff like this. I'm excited to go join your Patreon group, and I'm excited to learn more about your property in Costa Rica one of these days too. I kind of have the feeling that I'm a little bit more of a beach kind of guy, but you said you're only about 30 minutes from a good beach, right?
I am about 35, 40 minutes.
That's not that bad. Right now I'm 5 hours from a good beach, so I could probably put up with 30 or 40 minutes. But yeah, man, I really look forward to it. So, just before we head out, is there any last message that you'd like to give to the viewers? You want to reiterate your YouTube channel and maybe give out your Twitter or any information?
Well, actually, everything's the same. The at Jerry V Hall 1 is Twitter. On YouTube, I'm Jerry V Hall. On Facebook, I'm Jerry V Hall. And in Twitter and in Facebook, pinned in both profiles is access to the Patreon group. And that's where the real magic is happening, is in the Patreon group. That's where the real magic happens.
All right, folks. So you heard it from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jerry V Hall. Now you know how to go follow him, and I definitely recommend that you do. Once again, man, God bless you. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great night, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon. All right.
Pure V. Thank you, Brad.
You bet. Take care.